Hey friends, Fargo here, and welcome back to my channel. So a few days ago, I made a video talking about speedrunning the benches in TTR, and it was brought to my attention that there is a 19th bench that I actually missed. Um, Now the reason I missed this is because I wasn't really going too in depth, and I figured I'd miss something, and from what I could tell, it seemed like every playground had 3 benches, and so I didn't bother to look around too much after I found 3 benches in Toontown Central, and it turns out there's a 4th bench in Toontown Central that I missed. With this in mind, I'm going to kind of try and go over a few things and kind of illustrate how to do this speed run now that we have this new information. And also, I'll be talking about a few strats that I picked up and that might help you. Alright, to clarify, you don't have to do everything in order. Now, when I said that, I was in the rush of speedrunning, and so I was kind of just saying things to say things. And so I want to clarify, you don't have to do every playground in order. In fact, you can teleport around after you leave that tunnel. You can go anywhere you want once you leave Goofy Speedway Tunnel. So that kind of makes it so the player has to either decide to go for the starting bench or to teleport somewhere else if they think they can have better RNG elsewhere. And that also enables people to make strats that you wouldn't normally be able to do if you had to go in line with like Toontown Central, Barnacle Boatyard, Daisies, and So it's possible to go to different playgrounds if you really wanted to kind of skip around, so long as you kept track of the benches that you've touched already. Alright, another thing I want to clarify is that you can have a team with you, but it changes the category. So you noticed that I had solo on my other video, and that was because I didn't have any help. Now you can have a team set up by difficult benches if you really wanted to do that, but I'd say limit it to about 4 people. Now if you go beyond 4 people as a team, then I'm not quite sure what to call it. It wouldn't be the speedrun that I'm thinking of, but if you can do it with a huge team, then I'm really curious to see what kind of times you'd be able to get with that. Another thing I'd like to clarify, when you go to the picnic tables, it has to be a picnic table. You can't sit at a table that doesn't have the checkers on it, because that is a game board and that's not a picnic table. So you have to be able to sit on it as soon as you run into it. So those are kind of all the rules. You just have to make sure that you spawn at that specific spot in Goofy's. You hit every bench, so that's 19 benches now, and you have to sit at a picnic table in Acorn Acres. Now, one thing I wanted to go over real quick was strats. Now, there were a few things that I picked up while doing speedruns. I've done a few of these now. Multiple of them with the 19th bench included. I'll show you where that is in just a minute. But there's a few things that I figured out while doing this. Is that teleporting is essential sometimes. Even in the same playground, it can be essential. There's specific instances when you want to teleport, and one example of that would be the starter bench to the pet shop bench. Now, you'll see here in this example that it's actually much faster, and in most cases it is actually faster. But you'll see here in a minute that in some cases it's quite a bit slower, and since teleporting adds about 4 to 5 or even 6 minutes, I haven't counted yet, but since it adds so much time from clicking the sticker book to clicking the playground and teleporting, doing the teleport animation, it can be a bit of a challenge, and I would only use it sparingly because RNG can really factor into this. There are a few playgrounds that this is really useful, such as Minnie's Mellyland, Daisy's, or even Barnacle Boatyard, but in some of those cases it can be a hindrance, especially in the Burr, because the Burr has such terrible RNG in terms of teleporting. A lot of the times you'll spawn by the fisherman, which is not ideal at all. And there's actually quite a few spawns by the fisherman, by that fishing pond, and that can really hinder your run, which is why I would recommend probably not trying to teleport skip, but if you can figure out a way to optimize that, then you're solid. So here I'm going to show you all the locations for every bench. This should make it easier for everyone to figure out exactly how to get to everything. So here are all the bench locations. I'm going to be showing you every bench and every playground in order of how you would do them if you weren't using teleports. Alright, so we just came out of Goofy's. This is the first one. I like to call this one Start. It's by the clothing shop, by this big statue. This is the first one you usually touch, but if you don't want to touch this one, then you can always teleport away. That's number 1. Number 2 is Pet Shop, or just the second one. It's by the lamppost, by Loopy Lane, and this tree. Alright, so the third one is past the gazebo by this tree here. I like to just call it tree, but this is number 3. Tree and 3, call it whichever one. And then the next one is right over here. I like to call this one hidden just because I missed it, but this is the 4th bench. So this is number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 in Toontown Central. Alright, we're gonna go to Donald's Dock and show you the next one. Alright, so this is number 5 right here. I like to just call this one Lighthouse Lane A, or I can just call it number 5. And then this one here is number 6. This is Lighthouse Lane B. Then we travel all the way down here past the party. This one is number 7. I just like to call this one Furball, because Furball is here. So, number 7. Alright, on to Daisy's Gardens. This one's number 8. I like to call this one Elm Street because it's by Elm Street. Here's number 9 in the maze. This one's pretty self-explanatory. And then number 10 is right in front of Oak Street. It's right here. You can see the fountain. I like to call this one Fountain. And number 9 is called Maze. Alright, on to Minnie's Melody Land. Here's number 11. I like to call this one HQ Minis. Or you can just call this one Piano. Or 11. Whichever one works for you. Whichever one is more simple. Up the trumpet, you'll find number 12. This one I like to call Alto. Because it's right next to Alto Avenue. This one is usually the one that comes right after HQ. Which is fine. This one I just like to call Upper because I already have something called Clothing Shop, so I call this one Upper, and it can't be called Pet Shop because I already have something called Pet Shop. So this is just Upper Minis. Number 13. Onto the Burr. This one here is called Sleet Street, just because it's right next to Sleet Street. This one is number 14. This one is called Gag Shop. It is number 15. Then right over here, I like to call this one Polar Place. You can also call this one Pine, because there's a big pine tree here. Or you could just call this Wasteland, because there's no good teleports for this one. So this is number 16. Moving right on to Donald's Dreamland. This one is number 17. I call this one HQ. You can call this one Middle if it's confusing for Mezzos. But this one is number 17. It's a pretty easy one. This is the one that's called Clothing Shop because you have to pass right by the clothing shop. This is number 18. You could also call this one Pajama Place, but I like to just call it Clothing Shop because it's where I got stuck. So I like to call this one the infamous Clothing Shop 18. It's a shame, that's my favorite number. And last but not least, this one is called Fishing Pond. This is the 19th bench. But yes, I like to call it Fishing Pond because it's the one that is specifically by the fishing pond, excluding Donald's Dock. That one is called Furball. I hope this was informative. I hope I clarified a few things, and I hope you learned something from the teleport skip stuff that I did. Make sure to like the video, comment down below, and subscribe to join the Hypno Party. And I've been Fargo. Stay hypnotized, folks.
So, hey, look, Discord has come out with a new mascot. It's the virtual duck.
What are its specs?
Look at him go.
What are its specs?
It has 2 gigabytes of RAM.
Does it have a GTX 1080 Super?
It has
Sorry, not 1060 Super.
It has a
Can it process
bebop
RAM? Can it play
processor.
Fortnite on max settings? Probably can't. Oh, I almost cursed. Wait,
no.
I did curse.
Look at
I
this!
didn't
Look at
mean
this
to curse.
size. You're ruining everything. You're ruining everything. You're ruining the whole channel.
I
We're
didn't
getting
mean
shut
to
down.
curse.
We're getting shut
No,
down.
listen, it was an accident.
The Robo-Duck heard. The Robo-Duck heard. Scap, it's coming for us. It's coming for us.
Listen,
Oh God!
listen,
It's in my room right now. It's attacking me. The Robo-Duck is taking me to cyber jail. It's taking me to cyber jail.
What? No,
Ah!
what? 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 I didn't mean to. It was an